Hi, welcome back to Frame by Frame.
Today, we're getting into a film that's, well, it's more than just a classic. It's Milo Forman's 1984 masterpiece, Amadeus.
Absolutely, a huge film.
Huge. I mean, 8 Academy Awards, Best Picture included. And it just has this incredible reputation for exploring, artistic rivalry, divine talent, but also that tragedy of wasted potential.
It really tackles some big themes.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we've been digging into Amadeus, the symphony of genius, jealousy, and madness. It's a source that really highlights how Amadeus isn't like a straightforward biopic.
No, not at all. It's much grander, almost operatic itself, exploring envy, obsession.
Exactly. So our mission today is basically to pull out the core ideas, maybe some surprising bits from this material, and figure out what makes the film hit so hard, and why it still resonates, even though it plays fast and loose with historical facts sometimes.
Right, which is a key point.
We're really setting the stage for that central conflict, the fictionalized rivalry between Mozart and Antonio Salieri. That's the heart of it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And it's fascinating right from the get-go how Peter Shaffer's screenplay, adapted from his own play, of course decides to frame everything. It's all through Salieri's eyes.
Which is such a clever choice. It sets this unique tone, almost unsettling.
It really does. Because the film uses this, maybe historically shaky, but really powerful framing device. You meet Salieri when he's old in an asylum.
Right, confessing to Mozart's murder.
Yeah. And then we see Mozart's whole story, his rise, his fall, but all through Salieri's bitter, envious memories. It's incredibly dramatic, even if it's not, strictly factual history.
And that setup lets the film dig into some really profound themes.
Definitely. Like that core idea of divine talent versus human mediocrity. Salieri is shown as this devout guy, hardworking composer, but he's cursed. He can see Mozart's genius, perfectly.
He gets it on a level maybe others don't.
Exactly, but he just can't match it himself, no matter how hard he tries. It must be agonizing.
And the jealousy. It's not just simple envy, is it? The source talks about it being almost like a warped kind of worship.
Yeah, perverse is a good word for it. He's obsessed. Mozart isn't just a rival, he's like God's cruel joke aimed right at Salieri.
Which then brings up the other side, the whole price of geniuses thing. Mozart's brilliance, it's shown as this amazing gift, sure, but also a curse that kind of leads to his own self-destruction.
It's a double-edged sword. And the real tragedy, maybe the ultimate irony, is that Salieri prays so hard for greatness.
He's devout, he wants God's favor.
Right, and his prayers are kind of answered, but in the worst way possible. He gets the torment of having to witness true, effortless genius right next to him. Genius he understands deeply, but can never, ever hope to emulate.
Oof, that's rough.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does that conflict tell us, maybe about our own ambitions? Or how we view success and talent in others? Is it worse to strive and fail, or to be painfully aware of a greatness you just can't touch?
That awareness seems like the real curse for Salieri.
I think so. The film suggests that maybe the worst kind of ambition isn't just wanting to be great, but being, cursed with the ability to fully recognize it in someone else.
And making all this land with such impact, well, that's down to Milo Forman's direction, isn't it? He just elevates the whole thing, makes it feel operatic.
He really does.
Yeah.
There are parallels to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that blend of dark comedy and really raw human tragedy. He turns Mozart's life into this huge Baroque spectacle.
And the music, that's one of Forman's masterstrokes, how the music isn't just sitting in the background.
No, it actively drives the plot. It is the emotional state sometimes.
Like the Marriage of Figaro, you feel that rebellious energy.
Or the Requiem. I mean, that literally becomes Mozart's death hymn as he's composing it, or dictating it rather.
Chilling.
And Don Giovanni, those ominous chords, they totally foreshadow what's coming. The music's practically a character itself.
It absolutely dictates the mood. And visually, Forman does that brilliant thing with contrasts, too. You get Mozart's, ridiculous giggle.
That laugh right up against this utterly sublime music he creates. Or Salieri, all stiff and controlled, compared to Mozart's, chaotic energy. He keeps showing you that duality.
Constantly. And the whole aesthetic, the grand costumes, those candlelit halls, the big dramatic confrontations. It just feels like an opera unfolding on screen.
It's a very deliberate choice, isn't it? It pulls you right in.
Completely immersive.
So when you're watching, how does all this artistry, this direction actually work on you? How does it crank up the film's message and make it feel so, don't know, unique.
Well, I think it's that Forman doesn't just tell you about Mozart's world or Salieri's pain. He makes you feel it. The grandeur, the tragedy, it's all baked into the visuals, the sound, the pacing. It mirrors the art form it's depicting.
Yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of feeling it, the performances are just wow. F. Murray Abraham as Salieri won the Oscar, and you totally see why.
Oh, it's phenomenal. He makes Salieri sympathetic somehow, even while he's terrifying in his, quiet rage and obsession.
That self-loathing is palpable. Totally. You feel that silent rage watching Mozart compose effortlessly, and his breakdown, that confession. I was staring through the cage of those meticulous ink strokes at an absolute beauty. Just chilling.
And yet he has those darkly funny moments too, like the sarcastic narration. Barking like a dog, that was Mozart! It makes him weirdly relatable.
It does. You understand his bitterness, even if you don't condone his actions. It's a masterclass in complex characterization.
Absolutely. But then you've got Tom Holtz as Mozart. Now that's a performance that really divided people, didn't it?
Oh, for sure. Very bold. He's definitely not presented as some kind of plaster saint.
No way. He's this bratty, giggling, foul-mouthed man-child, basically. I remember my first time seeing it thinking, wait, this is Mozart.
Yeah. But the film leans into those contradictions, right? He writes this heavenly music, but he acts like a drunken fool half the time.
There's that childlike joy when he's composing, but then this descent into paranoia and desperation.
And the laugh. You have to mention the laugh.
Oh, the laugh, that high-pitched cackle. It's so jarring, so annoying, but also kind of infectious.
It is. It's unforgettable. What is it about that portrayal, do you think, that still makes you feel the tragedy, despite how obnoxious he can be?
That's a good question. For me, maybe it's that underlying vulnerability and the glimpses of just pure, unadulterated passion for the music that cuts through all the crassness.
Yeah, like he's just a vessel, a very flawed, messy vessel for something divine.
Exactly. That spark of genius is undeniable, even in Holst's portrayal. And the supporting cast, they're all brilliant too.
Definitely adds so much texture.
Elizabeth Berridge as Constanza. She's naive, yeah, but so fiercely loyal. Her desperation towards the end is heartbreaking.
It really is. And Jeffrey Jones as Emperor Joseph II, the sort of well-meaning but ultimately clueless patron.
Too many notes.
The classic line, perfect delivery. And Simon Callow as Chicaneter, the theater impresario, all boisterous energy, pushing Mozart towards the magic flute.
Yeah, great casting all around.
And when you put all these performances together, these really specific, complex characters, what they do is make those big themes, genius, mediocrity, envy, feel incredibly visceral. You don't just understand Salieri's pain intellectually, you feel it because of Abraham's performance.
Right. It hits you on an emotional level, and the world they inhabit, 18th century Vienna, it feels so real. The production design, the cinematography, it's like another character.
It really is a feast for the senses. You get the fancy palaces, sure, but also the dirty taverns. That contrast reflects Mozart's own life, doesn't it? Noble artist, but also kind of a common man.
Definitely. And the way it's shot,
Yeah.
Radoslav Onchiek's cinematography, all that natural light, the candlelight.
That's gorgeous. It makes those scenes feel so intimate, so immediate, like you're right there in the room.
You really feel pulled through the drama, and the costumes. Theodor Pischtik's work is just extravagant.
Amazing detail. All those embroidered coats, the wigs.
Especially Mozart's pink wig. It's kind of ridiculous, but it also feels like the symbol of his defiance, his refusal to just fit in.
It totally works on that symbolic level. But look, the real star underpinning everything has to be the music itself. Mozart's actual music.
Absolutely central. So Neville Marriner conducted it using the original compositions. No synthetic score, just pure Mozart.
Which lets his soul, his genius, just pour out of the screen. Think about key moments, like the Serenade for Winds at the very beginning.
During Salieri's suicide attempt.
Yeah, it's like the music itself is tormenting him. It's beautiful, but it's the source of his pain.
Or the Confutatus from the Requiem, that scene where Mozart is dictating it on his deathbed.
Haunting. He's literally composing his own funeral mass.
And that final scene, the laughing manuscript fading out as Salieri sits there, victorious but utterly hollow. It just seals the tragedy perfectly.
It really does. The music tells the story just as much as the actors or the script.
So for you listening, how do all these pieces all do, sir? The detailed production, the stunning cinematography, and crucially, the raw power of Mozart's actual music, how do they all combine to ramp up the emotional impact?
I think they don't just add flavor. They are the narrative. They make the genius feel real, the struggle palpable, Salieri's agony almost physical. It's all conveyed through sound and sight, not just dialogue.
Yeah, that's well put. Which brings us to maybe why Amadeus lasts? Why it's more than just a biopic?
A big part of it, I think, is Salieri. You have this villain, but you sympathize with him.
You do. He's not just pure evil. He's so tragically human, tormented by feeling mediocre. And honestly, who hasn't felt that shadow, even a little?
Right. It's relatable, that feeling of being overshadowed. And then Mozart, he's not cleaned up or romanticized. He's flawed, reckless, deeply human, not some saintly figure on a pedestal.
Which makes you grapple with that central question the film keeps asking, mostly through Salieri. Was God laughing at me through that obscene giggle?
Does genius come from God? Or is it just random, maybe even cruel? The film seems to lean into the mystery, suggesting genius is maybe this strange, possibly unfair gift, often given to the least likely or least deserving people.
Challenging those ideas of hard work always paying off, or divine justice.
Exactly. And its legacy is huge. People say it changed how biopics get made, focusing more on emotional truth than ticking off historical facts.
And the cultural ripple effect. Salieri's name becoming shorthand for bitter envy.
A huge resurgence in Mozart's popularity after the film came out.
Plus, the original play keeps getting revived. It clearly struck a chord.
So I think our final take has to be that Amadeus is just a masterpiece of madness, of music. It's not just about Mozart. It's about anyone who's ever felt overshadowed, you know?
Yeah, the agony of being good but knowing you're not truly great, the awe and maybe terror of seeing real genius up close.
And the dark humor in what Salieri sees as God's little jokes. It's like Salieri says himself at the end, processing Mozart's music. Sublime, perfect, it finished me.
Wow, a powerful line to end on. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Amadeus. We've touched on the story, the amazing performances, and those really deep questions it raises about genius, envy, and just human nature.
So as you think about Salieri's last words, sublime, perfect, it finished me.
Yeah.
Maybe ask yourself, what does it really mean to recognize genius that's way beyond your own reach? Is seeing it a gift? Or is it more like a curse?
And what does this whole exploration of Amadeus maybe reveal about how you perceive talent, ambition, and success? Something to chew on.